You know what mechanics hate? Cars that never break down. I'm talking about the vehicles that make them question their entire business model. The ones they secretly drive home while publicly pretending every car is a ticking time bomb. Today, I'm spilling the tea on 4 affordable cars that mechanics will never admit are practically bulletproof. These aren't luxury rides, these aren't exotic machines, these are the underdogs that refuse to die. And if you're tired of bleeding money at the repair shop, you're going to want to stick around, because number 2 on this list, it's been making mechanics lose sleep since the 90s. Let's get into it. Alright, let's kick things off with the car that's basically the cockroach of the automotive world. And I mean that as the highest compliment possible. The Toyota Corolla. Yes, that Corolla, the one your neighbor bought in 2005 and is still driving to work every single day without a single complaint. The one that's so reliable it's actually boring, and somehow that's exactly why we love it. Here's the thing about the Corolla that'll blow your mind. This car has been in continuous production since 1966. That's over half a century of Toyota perfecting the art of building a car that simply refuses to quit on you. We're talking about a vehicle that sold over 50 million units worldwide, making it one of the best-selling cars in human history. And you don't get those numbers by accident. You get them by building something that works, keeps working, and then works some more when everything else is given up. Now, mechanics will tell you horror stories about German luxury cars and their electrical gremlins, or Italian exotics that need a PhD to maintain, but when you ask them what they drive, 9 times out of 10, there's a Corolla sitting in their driveway. Why? Because these folks know what happens when an engine has been engineered within an inch of its life. The Corolla's engine, particularly the legendary 1.8-liter 4-cylinder that powered generations of these cars, is so overbuilt and understressed that calling it reliable is like calling the ocean a bit damp. We're talking about engines routinely hitting 300,000, 400,000, even 500,000 miles with nothing more than regular oil changes and basic maintenance. And here's where it gets hilarious. The Corolla is so reliable that it's actually created a problem in the used car market. Try finding a high-mileage Corolla for cheap, I dare you. They hold their value like gold because everyone knows the secret. That beater Corolla with 200,000 miles on the odometer, it's got another 200,000 left in the tank. Easy. I've seen mechanics buy Corollas with 250,000 miles, drive them for another 5 years, and then sell them for nearly what they paid. It's financial wizardry powered by Japanese engineering. But what makes the Corolla truly special isn't just the engine, it's the entire philosophy behind it. Toyota built this car with simplicity in mind. No unnecessary complexity, no cutting-edge technology that'll be obsolete in 5 years, just proven components assembled with obsessive quality control. The transmission, whether you get the manual, the traditional automatic, or even the newer CVT, is designed to be bulletproof. The suspension, basic, predictable, and nearly indestructible. Even the interior materials, while not fancy, are chosen specifically because they don't fall apart. That dashboard isn't going to crack, those seats aren't going to rip, and those buttons, they'll outlive your grandchildren. Now let's talk about parts availability for a second, because this is where the Corolla becomes the ultimate practical choice. Since Toyota has sold 11 billion of these things, parts are everywhere and they're cheap. You can walk into any auto parts store from Alaska to Australia and say, "I need parts for a Corolla," and they'll ask, "Which of the 47 we have in stock would you like?" Compare that to trying to find parts for some obscure European model, and you'll understand why mechanics consider the Corolla a gift from the automotive gods. Here's my favorite Corolla story, and this is absolutely true. There's a documented case of a 2003 Corolla that was used as a taxi in Kuwait, one of the harshest environments on Earth. Blistering heat, sandstorms, constant stop-and-go traffic. That car accumulated over 1 million kilometers, that's 621,000 miles, on the original engine and transmission before it was finally retired. Not because it broke down, mind you, but because the owner wanted to preserve it as a testament to Toyota's engineering. The car still ran perfectly. That's not a car, that's a mechanical immortal. So when people say the Corolla is boring, they're missing the point entirely. Boring means you're not stranded on the side of the highway. Boring means you're not on first-name basis with your mechanic. Boring means your car starts every single morning without drama, gets you where you need to go, and asks for nothing in return except an oil change every now and then. In a world full of flashy cars that spend more time in the shop than on the road, boring is actually brilliant. The Toyota Corolla isn't just a car, it's a lesson in engineering philosophy. It proves that sometimes the best solution is the simplest one, and that reliability isn't about fancy features or impressive spec sheets. It's about building something so fundamentally sound that it becomes legendary by simply refusing to break. And that's why mechanics drive them, recommend them, and secretly wish every car was built like them, because then they'd have to actually find honest work. Now, speaking of cars that mechanics secretly admire while publicly staying silent about, let me introduce you to the car that proves you don't have to choose between fun and reliability, the Mazda 3. This is the vehicle that makes other compact cars look like they've given up on life. While everyone else in this segment was building appliances on wheels, Mazda showed up and said, what if we made something that actually puts a smile on your face and doesn't explode every other Tuesday? Revolutionary concept, I know. Here's what makes the Mazda 3 absolutely special, and why mechanics have this weird respect for it that borders on admiration. Mazda has this philosophy called Jinba Itai, which is a Japanese term that translates to horse and rider as one. Sounds fancy, right? But what it actually means is that Mazda engineers obsess over making the car feel connected to the driver. And somehow, in the process of chasing that driving nirvana, they accidentally built one of the most reliable compact cars on the market. It's like they were trying to bake a cake and accidentally created the fountain of youth. The secret sauce? Mazda's Skyactiv engine technology. Now, before your eyes glaze over at the technical jargon, let me break this down in English. Mazda figured out how to build engines that are efficient, powerful, and stupidly reliable all at the same time. The 2.0-liter and 2.5-liter Skyactiv engines in the Mazda 3 are masterclasses in engineering simplicity. High compression ratios, direct injection, and a design that prioritizes longevity over chasing crazy horsepower numbers. These engines regularly sail past 200,000 miles without breaking a sweat, and mechanics will tell you that when a Mazda 3 comes into the shop, it's usually for routine maintenance, not because something catastrophically failed. But here's where it gets interesting, and this is something that separates Mazda from pretty much every other manufacturer in this price range. They actually care about rust prevention. I'm serious. While other companies are slapping on a coat of paint and calling it a day, Mazda learned their lesson from the rust bucket reputation they had decades ago and went absolutely nuclear on corrosion protection. Modern Mazda 3s have multiple layers of rust prevention, galvanized steel in key areas, and drainage systems designed to keep moisture from settling in those nightmare spots where rust loves to breed. This might sound boring, but ask any mechanic in the Rust Belt what kills cars, and they'll tell you it's not the engine, it's the body falling apart. Mazda figured this out, and the Mazda 3 benefits massively from it. Now let's talk about something that'll make you appreciate this car even more: the transmission situation. Whether you go with the traditional 6-speed automatic or, and this is a big deal, the 6-speed manual that Mazda still offers because they actually respect driving enthusiasts, you're getting a transmission that's been proven across hundreds of thousands of vehicles. Mazda didn't reinvent the wheel here. They didn't chase the CVT trend that's turning other compact cars into rubber band-powered nightmares. They stuck with what works, refined it to perfection, and the result is a transmission that shifts smoothly, responds predictably, and doesn't require a second mortgage to repair when it eventually needs service 100,000 miles down the road. And can we talk about the interior for a second? Because this is where Mazda really embarrasses the competition. Step inside a Mazda Free, especially the newer generations, and you'd swear you're in a car that costs twice as much. The build quality is genuinely impressive. Buttons that click with authority, materials that don't feel like they came from a recycling bin, and an attention to detail that's rare in this segment. But more importantly, from a reliability standpoint, everything is designed to last. Those climate control knobs, they're not going to break off in your hand. That touchscreen, it's not going to start glitching after 6 months. Mazda builds interiors like they expect you to actually keep the car for more than a lease term. What a concept! Here's a fun fact that mechanics love to share. The Mazda 3 has consistently ranked at the top of reliability surveys, often beating out competitors that cost significantly more. We're talking Consumer Reports, J.D. Power, all those organizations that actually track long-term dependability.
the Mazda 3 shows up year after year as a standout. And the best part? Mazda doesn't advertise this aggressively. They're not out here screaming, "We're reliable," like some manufacturers who desperately need to convince you. The Mazda 3 just quietly does its job, racks up the miles, and lets the owners do the talking. But here's my favorite thing about the Mazda 3, and this is going to sound weird. It's reliable without being soulless. See, anyone can build a reliable car if they make it boring enough. Strip out all personality, all character, all joy, and sure, it'll probably last forever because there's nothing interesting enough to break. But Mazda managed to thread this incredible needle where the car is genuinely fun to drive, responsive, engaging, and it still doesn't break down. That's witchcraft. That's engineering black magic. That steering feel, the way the chassis responds, the punchy throttle response, none of that should coexist with bulletproof reliability, but somehow in the Mazda 3, it does. So when mechanics see a Mazda 3 roll into their bay, there's this moment of respect. It's the automotive equivalent of acknowledging a worthy opponent. They know this car isn't going to roll over and die. They know the owner probably takes care of it because the car rewards that care. And they know that when they're shopping for their teenage kid's first car or looking for a reliable daily driver themselves, the Mazda 3 is absolutely on the short list. It's the thinking person's compact car, proof that reliability and fun aren't mutually exclusive. But if you think the Mazda 3 is impressive, wait until you hear about this next one.
All right, time to talk about the car that's been absolutely dominating the reliability game for so long that it's basically become a meme at this point. The Honda Civic. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, great, another Japanese compact car on the list. But here's the thing. The Civic earned this spot through decades of making mechanics question their career choices because this car just won't give them business. Let's get something straight right off the bat. The Honda Civic is the automotive equivalent of that friend who never gets sick, never complains, shows up on time every single day, and somehow still has energy left over to help you move furniture on the weekend. It's annoyingly perfect, and that's exactly why it's legendary. We're talking about a car that has spawned an entire subculture of enthusiasts who modify them, race them, and push them to absolutely ridiculous limits, and yet somehow the things still refuse to die. You can turbocharge a Civic, slam it to the ground, drive it like you stole it for 10 years straight, and it'll still fire up every morning like nothing happened. That's not normal, that's supernatural. The heart of the Civic's immortality is Honda's engine philosophy, and this is where things get genuinely fascinating. Honda started as a motorcycle company, and they brought that obsession with engine perfection into their cars. The result? Some of the most over-engineered, under-stressed, beautifully balanced four-cylinder engines ever bolted into a compact car. Whether we're talking about the legendary D-Series engines from the 90s, the bulletproof K-Series that powered the 2000s models, or the modern turbocharged power plants in today's Civics, there's a common thread. These engines love to rev. They're built with absurd tolerances, and they laugh in the face of neglect. I've personally seen Civics with over 400,000 miles on the original engine, still running on all cylinders, still passing emissions, still getting excellent fuel economy. At that point, the car has basically achieved mechanical enlightenment. But here's what really sets the Civic apart from its competitors, and this is something mechanics will tell you after a couple of drinks. Honda's quality control is borderline obsessive. When Honda builds an engine, they're not just meeting minimum standards, they're exceeding them by a mile because their reputation depends on it. Every component is tested, every tolerance is checked, and the assembly process is so precise that it borders on ridiculous. This isn't mass production, this is mass perfection. And the result is a car where catastrophic engine failure is so rare that when it does happen, it makes the news in Honda enthusiast forums because everyone's shocked. Now let's talk about something that doesn't get enough credit, the Civic's transmission durability. Honda offers both manual and automatic transmissions, and both are legendary for different reasons. The manual transmissions are famously smooth, with short throws and a mechanical precision that makes every shift feel like butter. These things can handle double the factory power and still keep shifting like new.
The automatic transmissions, particularly the traditional ones before Honda briefly flirted with CVTs, are equally robust. They shift smoothly, they don't hunt for gears, and they don't develop that dreaded shudder that plagues so many other automatics after 100,000 miles. Even Honda's newer CVTs, while not my personal favorite, have proven to be significantly more reliable than the industry average, mostly because Honda actually engineered them properly, instead of just licensing someone else's problematic design. Here's where the Civic gets really interesting from a practical standpoint: parts availability and affordability. Because Honda has sold approximately 1 billion Civics, okay, maybe I'm exaggerating slightly, but the point stands. You can find parts for this car anywhere. Your local parts store has them, online retailers have them. That guy in the parking lot, he probably has Civic parts in his trunk. And because there's so much aftermarket support, prices stay reasonable. Compare that to trying to source parts for some obscure European compact where you'll need to take out a loan just to replace a headlight assembly, and you'll understand why mechanics recommend the Civic to anyone who asks for a reliable car recommendation. But what really cements the Civic's legendary status is its versatility. This isn't just a reliable point A to point B appliance, though it absolutely excels at that. The Civic is also the foundation for one of the most active aftermarket scenes in the automotive world. You want a fuel-efficient commuter? The Civic's got you. You want a fun weekend track car? Same Civic, different modifications. You want something that'll survive being a teenager's first car? Civic again. It's like Honda built a platform so fundamentally sound that it'll be whatever you need it to be, and it'll still outlast your expectations. And here's my favorite Civic story that perfectly encapsulates why this car is special. There's a guy who bought a 1989 Civic brand new and decided he'd never sell it. He's still driving that same Civic today, over 30 years later. The odometer stopped working at 999,999 miles because it literally ran out of numbers, but he keeps driving it. The interior is immaculate because he takes care of it, the engine still runs perfectly because he does the maintenance, and Honda actually reached out to him because they wanted to study the car to see how it held up. That's not just a car anymore, that's a family member. That's a testament to what happens when engineering excellence meets proper care. So when people dismiss the Civic as just another boring compact car, they're missing the entire point. The Civic is boring in the same way that a Swiss watch is boring. Sure, it just tells time, but it does it with such precision and reliability that it becomes special. The Civic just transports you from place to place, but it does it so consistently, so efficiently, and for so long that it transcends its basic function and becomes something more. It becomes dependable in a world where dependability is increasingly rare. Mechanics drive Civics, their families drive Civics, they recommend Civics to their friends, and when you ask them why, they'll give you that knowing smile and say, "Because I've never had to do any real work on one." That's the ultimate endorsement. Now, we've covered 3 absolute legends, but there's one more car that deserves to be on this list.
Now here's where things get spicy, because I'm about to talk about a car that represents one of the most dramatic turnarounds in automotive history, the Hyundai Creta. And I can already hear some of you saying, wait, a Hyundai on a reliability list? Have you lost your mind? But stick with me, because this is the underdog story that proves redemption is real, and it's rolling on 4 wheels. Let's rewind for a second. 20 years ago, if you told a mechanic you were buying a Hyundai, they'd probably check if you had a good therapist, because you were clearly going through something. Early Hyundais were, let's be honest, kind of terrible. They were cheap, they felt cheap, and they broke down like they were allergic to reliability. But here's what happened. Hyundai got absolutely roasted for this, took it personally, and went on what can only be described as an engineering revenge tour. They hired talent from BMW, Mercedes, and other premium brands. They poured billions into research and development. They extended their warranty to an industry-leading 10 years because they wanted to prove they believed in their own products. And somewhere in that journey, they stopped making cars that mechanics laughed at and started making cars that mechanics secretly respect. The Creta, also known as the Venue or Kona in some markets depending on size and generation, is the perfect embodiment of this transformation. This compact SUV, and yes, it's an SUV, which automatically makes it more practical than the sedans we've talked about, represents modern Hyundai at its absolute best. It's affordable, it's packed with features that would cost thousands extra in competitors, and most importantly for this video, it's built to last in ways that would shock anyone still living in the Hyundais or trash era from 2 decades ago. Let's talk powertrains, because this is where Hyundai proved they've learned from the masters. The Creta typically comes with a range of efficient 4-cylinder engines, often paired with either a smooth-shifting automatic or even a dual-clutch transmission in some markets. Now, dual-clutch transmissions have a sketchy reputation in the industry. I'm looking at you, certain American and European brands. But Hyundai actually got theirs right. They're responsive, they don't shudder, and they don't develop the catastrophic failures that plague some competitors. The conventional automatics are equally solid, using proven technology rather than chasing trends just to have a flashy spec sheet. And here's the kicker. These engines are designed to meet strict global emission standards while maintaining durability, which is harder than it sounds. Hyundai didn't cut corners. They engineered these powertrains to survive brutal conditions, from scorching deserts to freezing winters, and the results speak for themselves. But what really sets the Creta apart, and this is something that mechanics take notice, is the warranty situation. Hyundai backs this vehicle with one of the best warranties in the business. We're talking 5 years or 60,000 miles bumper to bumper, and 10 years or 100,000 miles on the powertrain in many markets. You don't offer that kind of coverage unless you're absolutely confident your product won't implode. It's Hyundai putting their money where their mouth is. And mechanics will tell you, ever since Hyundai started offering these aggressive warranties, the cars have gotten exponentially better because the company can't afford to have vehicles constantly claiming warranty work. It forced them to build better, and the Creta benefits massively from that pressure. Now let's address the elephant in the room: build quality. Modern Hyundais, including the Creta, are built in some of the most advanced manufacturing facilities in the world. The fit and finish is genuinely impressive. Panel gaps are tight, paint quality is excellent, the interior materials feel premium for the price point. But more importantly, from a reliability standpoint, everything is assembled with precision. Wiring harnesses are properly routed and protected, fasteners are torqued to spec, rust prevention coatings are applied generously. These details matter because they're the difference between a car that lasts 100,000 miles and one that lasts 200,000 plus. Hyundai learned this lesson the hard way, and they're not going back. Here's something fascinating that mechanics have noticed. The Creta has an incredibly low cost of ownership for an SUV. Parts are reasonably priced because Hyundai intentionally kept the design straightforward. There's no crazy proprietary nonsense that requires dealer-only repairs. Regular maintenance items like brakes, filters, fluids, they're all standard and affordable. And because the Creta is sold globally, parts availability is excellent. You're not going to be waiting weeks for some obscure component to ship from halfway around the world. This practical approach to design means that even when the Creta does need service, it's not going to bankrupt you. But here's my favorite thing about the Creta's reliability story, and this is genuinely cool. Owners' satisfaction ratings for this vehicle are through the roof. People who buy the Creta expecting basic transportation discover they've actually purchased a well-engineered, feature-packed SUV that doesn't break down. The surprise factor is real. They go in with modest expectations and come out as Hyundai evangelists, telling everyone who will listen that they can't believe how good this thing is for the money. And that word of mouth, that genuine enthusiasm from actual owners, that's the kind of advertising you can't buy. Mechanics are seeing this shift in real time. A few years ago, Hyundais were frequent visitors to repair shops for actual problems. Now, they're showing up for scheduled maintenance, and that's about it. The Creta specifically has proven itself in markets around the world, racking up miles in harsh conditions, serving as taxis and delivery vehicles, basically being subjected to the kind of abuse that separates the pretenders from the contenders, and it's holding up beautifully. So when I put the Hyundai Creta on this list, alongside legendary nameplates like the Corolla,
Mazda 3 and Civic. I'm not being controversial for clicks, though I won't lie, the surprised reactions are pretty entertaining. I'm recognizing that the automotive landscape has changed. Hyundai isn't the punching bag it used to be. They earned their place at the table through relentless improvement, smart engineering, and a genuine commitment to building vehicles that last. The Creta is proof that underdogs can become champions, and that reliability isn't about heritage, it's about execution.
So there you have it. 4 cars that mechanics drive themselves, recommend to their families, and secretly wish every manufacturer would learn from. The Toyota Corolla, the immortal cockroach that simply refuses to die. The Mazda 3, proving that fun and reliability aren't mutually exclusive. The Honda Civic, the overachieving perfectionist that's been dominating for decades. And the Hyundai Creta, the comeback story that shows how far determination and engineering can take you. If you're in the market for a car that won't leave you stranded, won't drain your bank account, and won't make you regret your life choices, any of these 4 will serve you incredibly well. But here's the real secret. Buy one of these, take care of it with regular maintenance, and it'll probably outlast your interest in owning it. That's not just good value, that's automotive peace of mind. Now, if this video saved you from making an expensive mistake, or if you learned something new about these reliable legends, do me a favor and smash that like button. Subscribe if you want more honest car content without the BS. Drop a comment and tell me which of these 4 would you choose and why. Or maybe you've got your own reliability story about one of these cars. I want to hear it. And if you're still not convinced, if you're thinking, but what about this other car, drop that in the comments too. Maybe it'll make the next list, or maybe I'll explain why it won't. Either way, let's keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching, and remember, the best car is the one that starts every time you turn the key. These 4, they've got that mastered. See you in the next one.